One of the opportunities that I have in working with my peers in Canada comes to us through Community Foundations of Canada. And every year, the executive directors or CEOs of the Group 2 community foundations, which there are about 35 of us now, we come together for a peer retreat. And I have the opportunity every year then to share my perspective about what I've been learning, what I've been hearing from the international members of TCFN. As well, then I'm also able to reflect on how I'm using what I'm learning through TCFN in my day-to-day activities at the foundation. And my colleagues are all very anxious to hear about that.
Okay. And what is the influence on you personally?
Well, I started working at the Community Foundation about a year and a half before I joined TCFN. So I was a relatively new executive director when I started working with TCFN. So I've learned a lot. I've learned more than you could ever imagine, actually, from not only the programs, but through the development of products in Phase 2, and just having access to my colleagues from around the world. So I've gained a level of self-confidence, I think, as a result of TCFN more than anything. Self-confidence in strategic planning and strategic thinking. Self-confidence in understanding more about where we're going as a community foundation and as a community rather than where we are. And so I think that those learnings and that way of thinking is something that I can directly attribute back to Transatlantic Community Foundation Network. Example, when I would go back to my very first meeting with TCFN was actually here in Berlin, and it was in the middle of December in 2002, and I had been assigned to a working group, Organizational Development and Effectiveness, which was an area of interest to me, but I did not know any other person in the working group at all. Even though there was one other Canadian in the working group, I had never met that Canadian. So I came by myself from Canada to Berlin to spend 2 days working with a group of people that I had no idea who they were. We had a very skilled facilitator. We had great leadership and guidance and vision from the TCFN staff as far as what it was that they wanted us to consider. Not what they wanted us to do, but what they needed us to consider. And so I think that's a very good example of how TCFN works, because it brings people together in an environment where they feel respected and they feel that they can contribute no matter where they come from. They're heard, and I felt like I was a very active part of that group by the time I left Berlin 2 days later.